Henry Johnson is one of the most famous soldiers in American history who happened to be black. He was part of the 369th. He served in France. He served during the famous Battle of the Argonne Forest. And in July of 1918, he and another soldier were in a forward position on a lookout. And they were attacked by an estimated 24 German soldiers. Sergeant Johnson, according to the record of the event, repelled all 24 Germans, killing some, wounding others, but the survivors, retreated. In the course of the conflict, he was injured over 21 times and was shot 3 times. He wasn't actually recovered until the following day when his unit came forward and brought him back heavily wounded. Teddy Roosevelt later, when asked to name the bravest people who fought World War I, said that Sergeant Johnson was one of the 5 bravest Americans to fight in that conflict. Because he was in an all-black regiment assigned to the French, it was the French government and not the United States government that actually gave him full recognition for his service. He was the first American soldier in history to receive the Croix de Guerre, the Cross of War, which is the highest award the French government gives, with star and with gold palm, meaning the absolute highest tribute that the French government gives to a soldier went to Sergeant Johnson. He was among the bravest, most heroic figures in American history on a battlefield. He was black in an all-black regiment assigned to the French army. What eluded him was due recognition by his own government. He died in 1929 and was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. And it took 45 years for him to get partial recognition for his service. In 1996, President Clinton awarded him posthumously the Purple Heart, and in 2003 he received the Distinguished Service Cross. I believe at that time no African American soldiers had ever received the Medal of Honor. That was corrected. There is now one, a corporal, who received our highest military award. But he was the only one of all the soldiers who fought and fought with great honor. And I think we have to go back to remember that the French conflict was very bloody. And hundreds of members of the 369th gave their lives on the battlefield. While black troops were in France keeping the world safe for democracy, back home they were still second-class citizens. And this is where my grandfather comes in. At the end of the war, the regiment came back to New York, and they marched up Fifth Avenue, which is a great honor, and they dispersed. And Sergeant Johnson and most of the other black troops hoped that by demonstrating such heroism and patriotism, that when they came back to this country, they would be able to turn the tide, and perhaps African Americans would be welcomed to full citizenship. That did not happen. Lynchings continued, segregation continued, Jim Crow, and that is a great shame, a stain on our history. My grandfather was elected to Congress in 1920, and one of the first bills that he carried was a bill to end lynching. But his perhaps proudest accomplishment as a legislator was he was the author of the bill for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And that is the most honored site in Arlington National Cemetery. And what is interesting is that an unknown soldier from the French conflict was brought home and buried there. But it is possible that the unknown soldier is a black soldier. Not only was Sergeant Johnson one of the bravest, most heroic soldiers in our history, but we have to remember that he was fighting to defend a country on foreign soil that had denied him full citizenship and would continue to deny him full citizenship through his death in 1929. On the basis of what he did on the battlefield and his heroism and valor, he certainly qualifies and deserves the Medal of Honor. There's very little dispute, and this president, President Obama, can right that historical wrong. But on the basis of his character, of willing to fight to defend a country that had not stood shoulder to shoulder with him, he has given us a lesson that also reminds us that our work is not done, that we must be able to rise above sometimes injustice to move forward. And I think as a human being and as a soldier, he's a remarkable role model, and probably in every possible measure has earned the right to have a Medal of Honor awarded to him. And I will be working with the Oregon congressional delegation to ask them to join with other congressmen and senators and activists around the country to make sure that Sergeant Johnson gets what he has been denied for almost 100 years, which is the highest military award this country can issue, which is the Medal of Honor.